Welcome, everyone, to the 24th Annual Miami Jewish Film Festival, one of the largest and oldest Jewish cultural arts events. My name is Miriam Klein Kazanov, and I will be the moderator this evening for this incredibly amazing, wonderful film. Tonight, or this afternoon, or this evening, or whenever you're watching this program, I am so honored to be having this interview on the film The Irrepressible Woman, which I just adored watching this film, particularly since I'm a romantic. I found the story of Jeannot. Please excuse my French pronunciation. Um, the story of the romance of Jeannot and Leon Bloom, just a fascinating story. So please let me introduce to you Nelly Kafsky, who is the producer of this amazing film. Nelly comes to us from France. Hello, Nelly.
Hello, I'm very pleased to speak to your audience and please apologize my bad English. I try to do my best.
I think your English is just fine, but my French is worse. So, Nellie, I was totally enthralled with the film from the moment I met Jeannot, Jean, I call in English. Um, a quick summary of the film is that it's a story of the romance of Leon Blum, the first Jewish French prime minister
Yes,
in the 1930s, and how Jeannot met him when she was only 16
exactly.
and never ever could give up her love for him, eventually, even following him years later, right into a concentration camp as an inmate because of her love and devotion for him. So let's begin the conversation about this extraordinary story by first asking you what inspired you to make this film, and when did you first hear this story that you knew that moment that you had to make a film about this?
Mm, Um, my desire to make films about Jewish people is huge, and it's my duty as producer. And I produced a lot of films about this period, this Second War, and also miniseries for the television. And once I produced a film for television about this political man, Bousquet, who deported a lot of French Jewish people, and also the Jewish stranger people who were in France. And I made a film about him, and with a director, Laurent Henneman, and it was a very nice story between him and me. I mean, story, not love story, but a story for working. And then we made another miniseries about Louis XIV, Louis the 14, when he was young. And once he came to me and he asked me he wanted to invite me to lunch. And as a director invited a producer to lunch, I think he has to ask something. And
Yeah.
so, so we went to lunch together, and he told me, I have an amazing story for you. I know what you like, and we made L'Affaire Bousquet together, and it was a great success. And so please, you have to hear me. I say, I'm here to hear you, no problem. And she says, you have to read the book of Dominique Messica, and the book, the title was "I Promise You to Return." It was not the same title. It is 600 pages, 600 pages to read. It's huge. It was huge. I
Don't you love it when people give you books of 600 pages to read?
terrible. It's terrible. Uh, but it was very interesting because during the lunch, he told me the story. And I fall in love with this story. And he says, I have a script. You can first, if you want, read the script. And I read the script and I didn't like at all the script, at all. I say, it is not very, it's not strong enough. It's not, you are very superficial in the script. And but the story is interesting. I like the book, and so I will read the book until the end. And then I said to him, uh, please, is it possible to work together, and that you take another writer, together you write and you rewrite, and we find the way to do the best script to make a film, to produce a film. And that's it. So we worked, and we had 11 versions. Can you imagine? 11 versions to arrive at what you saw. And then,
Amazing.
yeah, and then we I tried to produce the film, but it was very difficult. In France, the situation is very bad about Jewish people, and they don't like Jewish stories at all. They want only stories about the Arabs, the immigration, and the homosexual people. And it's not so bad to do that, but why no story at all about, no film at all about Jewish people? And I had to fight a lot. I've I have I had 2 years
Really.
very bad, and also for the casting. And as the time I met Elsa Zilberstein, who is a part from Jano.
The actress who plays Jeannot, yeah.
She's wonderful,
She's
and
wonderful.
she read the script in 24 hours. She called me. I say, I do it. And as she is a star in France, it was easier for me to produce the film. And then after, I found the other one with my director, of course, and that's it. But I'm very glad, because the film is, as you say, um, I think he's good. He's good, and I hope that your audience will appreciate it. That's it.
I want to go back to something you said that intrigues me. Give me an example of what, during those 2 bad years, what kind of thing happened or things happened that made it so bad for you, that made it so difficult? Was it about anti Semitism in France?
Yes, but the people, they didn't tell me we don't want story about Jewish people. They
Really?
No, they told me um, uh, a little bit softer. They say, oh, we don't like historical story at that moment. We prefer social films, uh, and there is a lot of there were a lot of films about the Second War. Perhaps you have to change your subject. You have to find another subject, because Second War, we had a lot, and at that time we don't want that anymore. It was not so.
Mhm.
You understand what I
Yeah, I
mean?
do. In other words, it wasn't said blatantly,
That's
but
not in
you got
front.
the message.
Yes.
And this came from potential directors, potential funders. Who were the people that were giving you this kind of difficult time?
Um, we have some organism who give money, like Sofica.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you have that in America, and also the distributors who put the film comment on dit dans les salles, in the cinemas, and also all the channels. It was very difficult. I didn't
Well,
have national
I
channel.
have a feeling that even though the title of this film, Irrepressible Woman, is about Jeannot, that it's more about you, Nelly, because clearly you are an irrepressible woman and that you fought those obstacles and produced this wonderful film. So we have two irrepressible women.
Thank you.
Yes. So one more thing that you
I want
said
to
that
tell you, sorry, I want to tell you, I don't like at all when in my job the people say to me no. I
yeah,
don't like no. I don't like when I want to do something, I don't want that somebody in front of me say no, we don't do it, That's why so I liked this subject. I wanted to work with my director about this film and this love story, and why I can't do it. Why? Because there is a lot of film about Jewish people before on the Second War. That's not my problem.
good for you. You have a friend with that. I'm the same way. I'm sure you can tell.
I
Don't
can see on your face
say,
you are
yeah,
very
don't ever say no to me when I want to do something because guess what? It's going to happen. um, assuming that people who are watching this have seen the film now, you mentioned that when you first saw the script, um, you did like it.
no.
So just at a statement, what was missing that you felt uh, you that needed more of that you didn't like it that much?
I didn't like because it was not a, a very apparent point of view, and we had to find the point of view. He Laurent, he made like the book, he was telling a lot of things, and we don't have the point of view that I wanted, the point of view of Jeannot, because Jeannot, she was not politicized. She was not, she was not in politics. She was not involved in politics. She was married, and she was so in love as she was 16 years old. That's the story I wanted to tell. You know,
Yeah,
she was Jewish, and she was completely foolish to go to the
concentration camp.
camp to follow the man who she loves so much. So that was the point of view. And they didn't do that before. They had a voice from the baby from the end of the film. And we are not the baby of the end of the film. I will tell you something about her because we met her, and I will tell her.
Yeah, I'll get to that. So let's go back now to the film specific. So there's really two main characters here that we love, that we get to know, that we want to know more of. Um, tell us a little bit more about Leon Bloom, who he was. And I heard you on a different program talk about all the uh, good things that he did for mankind in France that are very important. He was a socialist, he was Jewish, he was kind, he was caring, and he was for the people. So when Jeannot met him, she was only 16. Her stepfather and mother had thrown a social party,
Yes.
and one of the guests was this young, handsome Leon Bloom. So, first, tell us who Leon Bloom actually was.
I think the history of Leon Blooms is almost never discussed in your public school or even college, but it's really important to study that he is in that period in Europe, the worst. Now we have to learn about Bloom, you know, and even now, French citizens don't realize the improving working conditions. He 14-hour work week, paid vacation, and job security, which were put in place by Léon Blum. All that, and now, at that time, now, in our century, everything
Mhm.
is going like Bloom decided to do. So he's a very important man for social measures and for, 40 hours work week. At that time, it was incredible. And paid vacation, incredible. You know, and to put also job security, and it is it was wonderful for France, and everybody copied that, after. And in our film, Jeannot is described as falling in love with Bloom, but as she was 16, but she has heard about him. She knows
Yes,
who he is, and she admired him. And she's not like a girl who fall in love by because he is handsome, no, she knows who he was, the
yes,
intelligence, and so. And and then she had two previous marriages. He
yes.
was
I was going to follow the script. Is that she sees him at this party. She loves his ideals. She loves his politics.
yes,
Um, but he's married. And she goes on to marry one time, and then she marries a second time. But you can see in the film, she never gives up her passion, her love for him. And with her second husband, she even lets, when the film opens, she's married to her second husband. She has two sons, and the only one that we focus on in the movie is George's. And she lets her second husband know that she'll marry him, but she's still very much in love with Bloom, who now is widowed. So she now has a chance and a decision to make to either go to America or to London, it is, with the second husband and her son, or to finally pursue her love with Bloom.
exactly.
So let's start there. She makes the decision. She tells her second husband, I'm going with Bloom. And there's nothing he can do about it. So he takes her son with him to London. And there begins the film. And we begin to see this passionate romance. Now, I guess what I want to follow with you now is Bloom evidently was very popular with the average population because of what he did, but the very right, like Patain and so forth, they hated him. Please tell me why they hated him so much that they are now imprisoning him.
They hated him first. The first reason is that he was Jewish. It was the first reason.
Really, just
Yes,
because of that Jewish anti-Semitism.
yes. And also because he decided these social laws, and they didn't want that. And then he didn't want to take part of the government after, Bloom, because he didn't agree with this government. This government was wanted to govern with socialist and communist. And at that time, communist was not so uh, wonderful, and
Yeah.
he didn't want that. He wanted to be behind that, and that's why also they didn't like him. And how do the Jewish people, it was on the late century, 19th century, that they decided to go into politics. It was very, very, it was not so long, and
Mhm.
and they had success like Bloom. And the other people, they were very jealous of that, because he was successful very quick. uh, Before, the Jewish people, they were only in business, and as the industrial revolution changed the world, they had expanded business opportunities everywhere, but no in politics. And the first one, it was Bloom, and that makes a lot of jealousy. As you know, the anti-Semitism has never disappeared. And in 1881, you remember Odessa, Kiev, and Kishinev, and all that. And in France, the anti-Semitism was present, but not exactly. They don't say that very loud, but with Bloom they had an example to
They use that as an example.
yes.
So let's move on with the timeline. There's another character that comes into the story. I'm
I,
sorry, did you want to add something?
I want to add for Bloom, because Bloom was not a political man. Before,
Oh,
he was a boulevardier. He wrote for literary magazines, reviewed theater works, and was a critic. Wrote a book about marriage, recommending premarital sex.
yeah.
he wrote he wrote short stories, and he had 3 wives. He was very free, He had 3 wives. The last 2 were mistress first, before to be before have to marry, So he was very free, and he came from the literature, and the politic people, they don't like that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that he was not good looking though,
No,
but because of all these other talents and his mind was so sharp and so multifaceted that he could discuss politics and art and poetry, and he was well read, that he was a very attractive
yes,
man to many women, including Janot.
yes. Yes, but Jeannot was very young, and
Yes, she was.
when she met Bloom, she fall down. She fall down. She vanished. She vanished. Can you imagine that? Because it was comment on dit ça,
You did when she met him.
un coup de foudre. She fall in love, so she couldn't
He was
go
o- he was
against that.
overtaken with emotion.
Yes.
um, I wanted to ask you that when he is imprisoned the first time, let's talk about his daughter-in-law. It was interesting that in the film you made it very clear that the daughter-in-law did not like Jeannot at all.
At all.
They they were like this because she felt that Janot was cheap
Yeah.
and prostituting herself, so to speak, and was trying to be protective of her father-in-law. But then their relationship through the trials grew to be so beautiful, like best friends. Did you want to discuss that since you
Yes,
focused
I
on
will
quite a
discuss that
bit?
because something is it is good to know that um, she um, she was she was the wife of the son of Bloom, uh, and
Yes.
she didn't like at all René. René didn't like Jeannot at all. But uh, what we made in the film is not exactly true, uh,
Oh,
because René hated all her life long Jeannot.
really?
Yes. And they were close during the war to help Bloom, only to help Bloom when he was in jail.
I see.
But because of René, she was very cold, very head-minded, you know, she very very cold, very distant from Jeannot. And Jeannot was a passionate woman, you know, it's difficult to match together. And and in the script, we saw that, and everybody told us that's terrible. These two women, they are in war together and they hate together. So we can't keep that all the time. That's why we change a little bit the humor of René. And what is very excite, what was very exciting to for us is that when the film was finished, already finished, somebody told me, you know, there exists Dominique Torres, the child of Georges, who was killed during the war at 20 years old, 21 years old. And I say, what age now? And they told me 75. So I decided to show her the film. But I was scared, you know, I was afraid. I say, what, the heaven will fall on on my head, you know. It was terrible. And we show, we show her the film.
Yeah.
And then she went out of the cinema and she was crying.
Oh,
And she said, that's wonderful. Thank you very much. It's the best present that nobody did to me. It's the best present, the best present. And you know why it is the best present? Because it's the first time that somebody speaks about my father. Because my father died very young, and it was Jeannot's son. And it was, you can't imagine how it is uh, wonderful for me to see my father on the picture because I don't know him. I never knew him. I was too small.
beautiful, beautiful.
Yes.
That was very, very nice of you to make that connection. Um, let's go to just one moment in history. Um, in 1942 and 43, Bloom is taken to the famous Buchenwald concentration camp. Now, for those of us in the audience, our knowledge of Buchenwald is a horrible camp where there are pictures that we have of, of victims in barracks and starving and skeletal looking. And I myself, as a Holocaust educator, had never heard, first of all, had never heard ever in all my research of a story like this, where a woman is so much in love with a man that she absolutely manages through her connections to get herself to be an inmate in the camp so that she can be with her lover. And then the living quarters that Leon Bloom had were not the best, but they certainly weren't the worst. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about two things. One, how Janelle really got herself into the camp, why Leon Bloom was able to have quarters that were better than being in a barrack. And I'm sorry, there's a third question. How is it that the Reich married them? I mean, whoever heard of such a thing? Truly, if I didn't know you talking to you now and looking up the history, I would have thought that this is a fictional
No,
story.
it's
But
not.
it's amazing. I've never, ever heard of this before.
We have this information by the Bloom family, and Dominique Torres, the little girl from the end of the film, we
She's
met.
the granddaughter of George's, of Jano's son.
Yes,
Yeah,
she confirmed us that it's a true story. It is true. Everything is true. And
amazing.
Bloom was in this house, who was the house of Goebbels, hunting house of Goebbels. He used to hunt in that part of the of Buchenwald, and
Hmm.
and why they took him there, and they treated not too bad,
Yeah,
huh? uh, because they wanted to keep Bloom safe,
yes.
like a hostage.
Oh, eventually they were going to do a trade-off hostage
Yes,
situation. Got
yes,
it.
yes.
Okay.
So that's why he was there.
I
and
see.
and Jeannot, she was completely foolish. She you can notice her remarkable bravery, in following Bloom, and fighting for his life all the time, and it's incredible. And she went to, like you see in the film, that is true. She went to Laval, who was
Yes.
the chief of all the police, and he was very, very powerful. And she says, I want to go there because it's the man I love. And he said, you are crazy. And you can't go there because you are not married with him. And she told, I will marry him there. She told that, to him. And
Mhm.
and Bloom wrote a book about that, and he tells us everything about that. So it's true. And the granddaughter we met, Dominique Torres, she says everything is true. Only one thing is not true, is that René, the doesn't like at all Jeannot, and
Yeah.
that's not true. But
Okay.
all the thing was true.
Amazing, amazing story. So this love story does have a happy ending after the war, except for the personal tragedies that Janot had to bear, losing her second husband who committed suicide, losing her son in the war. But when Bloom and Janot are released finally, uh, they tell us a little bit more immediately after that release, where they went to live. And finally, the last chapters that the film does not show, but that I read about, where after Bloom dies, she discovers her son's child, her grandchild, and then she goes on to live and become quite a philanthropist and develop wonderful programs for people.
Yes.
So, you want to tell us a little bit more from after the last scene of the film?
When he returned to France, but they were released. He worked again in the government, not very much, but he made a lot of things for France. And what is important to notice is that he was an important scientist. I think just you understand my English, huh? Okay. He
Yes.
he was also an important Zionist leader, and he was working with Chaim Weizmann, and he was personally responsible for France's vote to recognize the state of Israel. That's
Oh,
very important to know it, you know. And and he was not a socialist like the other one. He likes liberty, equality, and fraternity all the time. He was not a real politic man. He was somebody who likes the people and who wants to improve the world and to make peace everywhere. That's why he recognized Israel. But he died very, very, very quick. He died in 1950. So they were happy together 5 years only.
oh, really? Is that all afterwards? So they only had 5 years together?
5 years, and Jeannot made a lot of things. She created a school for people who are completely out of the society, and this
Handicapped, yeah.
yeah, and this school exists now. And it is in Jouy-en-Josas. And in Jouy-en-Josas, they were living there. They returned to the house from Bloom. So that's very important to know that everybody was living there.
I see.
Also, René came very often to Jouer-en-Josas, and Dominique Torres, the granddaughter, she was also living there. Jeannot was feel very alone, but she tried to live without Bloom, 25 or 30 years, and she was ill, and she committed suicide on her. Donc
I
she
read that and I felt so sad that it all ended that. And yet, when he died, the love was so intense for him that I wondered how she would go on after he
because
died.
of Dominique Torres, the girl who was there, you know, it was a girl from her son, Georges. So it
Yeah.
was important to be there. And also, she was very busy with the school she created, and but she didn't want when she fell ill, she had not occupation, so she committed suicide.
One thing, he ran for prime minister again, and he became prime minister again after the war. Am I right?
Not very long, not very long,
Oh,
not
okay.
not very long. No, no, no. He wanted to be. Um, she made a lot of he made a lot of service to the government, the French government. He was always present, but he didn't want any title.
So tell me, Nellie, if the audience wants to read more about this history and about them, um, Is there a book or something that one could order and dig deeper into this?
Yes, I don't know if it's translated in English. That's why it's a book from Dominique Messica. Uh, I speak about I spoke about it, uh, um, and the title is "I Promise You to Return."
I
And
promise you to return.
yes, and it's a very nice book because it's a book who inspired the script, also. And
Well,
there
let
is
me
a
ask you
lot of details and everything in the book.
let me
Yes.
ask you a question. What year did you start this project?
When
Yeah, what year?
uh, I started the project in 90, in 2020,
2000.
2017, tw- uh, 2017.
Okay.
Yes,
And you finished it when?
I finished one. I, it was released on cinema on January 20.
So since then, tell us what you've been doing with the film.
We had a lot of festival in the US,
Okay.
like you, and we are very pleased that the film is everywhere. And I work also a lot on a new film.
Oh, are
Uh,
you? You're
yes,
working on a new film already?
yes. It's about the music before, during, and after the Second War.
Ah, how interesting.
It's about a pianist who is not Jewish, he's Catholic and a good family. And he met a Jewish girl who is her teacher. Piano teacher.
It's a true story.
Yes, it's two stories together. And
Oh,
and I don't want to tell you what.
of course not. Of course
But
not. But I
very,
can't wait until I see it.
it's a very nice project. Very nice project. Very
And
nice.
I am just so excited for you with all that you had to go through, that you're enjoying this year doing all these festivals. It's a wonderful film. And if anybody out there who's listening to us has not seen it yet, I urge you to see this film. I thank our executive director, Igor, to have me watch it and to give me the honor of interviewing you, because I just love it. I mean, I'm not just saying it. First of all, I'm a romantic.
Yes,
So, and I love strong women who go for what they want. And oh, yes, before I let you go, tell us a little bit about the actress. She is beautiful. I
wonderful.
have never seen her before, and I love the way she plays that part. You can feel the passion. She did a beautiful job. Tell us her name again, and where is she, Israeli or what?
She's yes, um, Elsa Zilberstein, and
Zilberstein. Okay.
Zilberstein, the father is Jewish and not the mother, but she loved a lot her mother, and unfortunately, her mother died during the promotion of the film,
Oh,
and the day of Kippur. Uh,
oh,
it was terrible. But as she had the film, she was very strong. She was very strong. She promoted the film very well. And she also you have did you have do you have did you have hear about Simone Weil? Simone Weil, yes.
yes,
So
yes.
Elsa Zilberstein, he had made a film, and she is Simone Weil.
Okay.
And it's not on the because of the virus, and so it's not on the. It was not released yet, but it comes. It comes.
Well,
She's a
Nelly,
wonderful actress, wonderful actress. And Emily Dequesne, who is playing Renée, Emily Dequesne had a lot of awards in Cannes, in César, and Elsa Zilberstein also. They are very well known, and I am so glad to have them with Hippolyte Girardot, who played the part from Bloom, and all the actors. You know, the man who makes Laval, uh, who gave the authorization to go to the camp.
yes,
He came for one day, to shoot with us, and he's very well known also in France. So thank
advance.
you very much to all the actors and my director, of course.
You are in Paris, am I correct?
Yes, I'm in
Well,
Paris.
you are a beautiful Parisian woman and irrepressible, just like your main character. It has been absolutely, for me, a wonderful delight to have this conversation because when I like a film, you know how you go to the movies with somebody and afterwards you go out for coffee and you talk about the film. So now we can't do that, but I have the good fortune to actually talk about this film with the producer. So, on behalf of the Miami Jewish Film Festival, I want to thank you for taking the time to have this conversation with me. I hope one day we will meet personally. I would love to meet you. And
Can
I
I
just,
add something? Can I add something?
of
I want to
course,
tell, because I think to be modern, we need also to come back to our sources. To handle the century which arrived, we have to understand the century which is living. So we can't build the world, a good world of the future, saying past doesn't matter. That's why
mhm,
that's why I produce those films.
good for you.
Mm.
Good for you. You're a lovely lady and a brilliant woman and creative. And thank you so much for this conversation and for this gift of a film. And I hope we meet again someday soon.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It was also very delighting to meet you.
Thank you so very much. Good evening.
Bye bye.